mechanical Florida mechanical solution. We've got your air conditioning unit to be changed out, and we go from there. What you guys need to know, you can take it right here.
So you were just asked to change the unit out, not actually calculate anything?
It's I guess you guys, I'm the answer that. I guess you guys already do the calculation and stuff like that. So we're just going to
We didn't do any calculations. They're depending on you.
All right, so my name is Kim Roy. You asked me to introduce our company, Spurta Mechanical, formerly known as AIRology. We have been in the air conditioning business for the last 17 years. Mike here is our engineer that works on these specialty projects with us. Mike has almost 40 years experience in the air conditioning industry. So I'm going to go ahead and answer your question. If you may repeat it for me, please.
Okay, my question is, you were asked to just replace, not actually even look at the unit that we have?
Of course, we have to, in order to replace the air conditioner, we have had to come by and do an assessment of the existing air
Yeah, but
conditioning.
what I'm saying is, have you done an evaluation on the unit to see whether or not it's feasible to do anything?
Feasible in relation to what? I'm not sure if I'm answering.
Okay, in other words, to bring the unit up to code, to make everything work the way it's supposed to. Because there's 2 units outside, and supposedly there's 1 unit outside that is currently not working.
You currently have 3 air conditioning units that's tied to that 1 air handler. You have 2 15-ton condensers which are not working, and you have 1 20-ton condenser which is currently cooling the space as we speak.
Okay.
So it's 3 air conditioning units, 3 condensers that are tied to that one air handler inside there.
Okay, so have you actually done any calculations here based off of the size of the place here to come up with how much tonnage you need?
We were asked to come and give a estimate on a 20-ton split system, which you currently have a 20-ton split system cooling the space. That's what we're asked to provide for that space, no additional information.
Okay.
So if you wanted us to do a load calculation on the space, we can provide a load calculation at cost for that.
Okay, how many have these kind of projects have you done in the area here, in Fort Lauderdale?
We have done extensive projects in the Fort Lauderdale area, not specific to a clubhouse setting, but we have done projects all over.
Something in this size, in this classification.
This is no different than a 20-ton package unit that's sitting on a roof, where you may have a condenser that's sitting wherever. This is no different from an average air conditioning system. All it is just a bigger equipment.
Just for a thing of information, what is the calculation per person that's here as far as how many BTUs that you have to accommodate for that particular person?
It goes based on your occupancy and your fresh air that's coming inside.
So what is the occupancy there here then?
You have the occupancy sticker that's at your front door there.
Well, that's just saying based off of space. That's not the occupancy sign from the city. We have a sign that says there's 750 people here. It's mounted on the wall. So I'm assuming that we have a property that, about 750 people that we can have in this room.
Okay, yes, based on your occupancy sticker.
But based off of that, what is the amount of BTUs for 750 people?
It's 310 BTUs per air change. I don't remember the exact verbiage right now.
So it's changed from the original 600?
Correct, yes, because you're going to have a fresh air intake that's going to be on the system.
Okay, then my last question is, can you go over when we go into doing a new unit, we are now obligated to come up with the new fresh air laws.
That's correct.
So what is that entail for, and put it in layman's terms so that everybody can understand what we're opening ourselves up to compared to what we have now?
So you currently have a fresh air system already inside that closet.
So you're saying that this system is current to what's going on?
No, we're going to have to make some modifications because this system that's currently here was based on the old code that was done 50
No,
years ago.
I understand that. What I'm trying to get from you is we are now in 2023, which has different laws, and we are grandfathered in on our AC the way it is now. Once you change that out, we're now going to be dealing with the new rules and regulations based off of that. Can you highlight some of that for us so we know what it is? What we're getting involved in too?
Yeah, that's fine. So
I'm doing this so everybody knows what we're getting into.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. And I'm going to start answering the question, and then I'll also allow Mike, the engineer, that has a lot more extensive experience on that. So one of the modifications that has to be done inside the closet, currently you have a motorized fresh air intake. That means that you or the technician will go there and will set the damper on that fresh air to provide a certain amount of fresh air coming inside the space. The new requirement for fresh air intake, that damper, that fresh air intake, and just for clarity, what a fresh air intake is it's mixing the outside air with the air that's inside the space, as opposed to keep it circulating as with your home. If you have all your windows and doors closed, your air conditioner just circulates the air. What the fresh air is that in the Caribbean, we'll open our windows to get some fresh air inside the space. So just for clarity, so everyone is aware of what we're speaking about. So the fresh air intake, which you already have inside the space, we are going to make that a motorized fresh air intake, where we're going to have a damper that's attached inside there. So whenever the air conditioning unit kicks on, that damper opens up and closes. So that's one of the modifications that we're going to be doing on the equipment.
What's a damper?
Okay, a damper is what you use to let in the outside air to the inside conditioned space. The reason for that fresh air is getting like germs or bacteria, anything like that, but for human ability to move around, that people get sick, like sick air. Yeah, if you don't have that air change at a certain amount of time, that's why the fresh air comes in and purify the air and take care of that. And that's what a damper contributes.
A flat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we check out whether or not this would be repaired rather than replaced?
Honestly, they said they want a newer unit because this unit, on the specs on this unit, it's a older unit, so the efficiency rating is very low. So with that new unit, the efficiency is very high, so you're going to end up spending less in utility bill. So that's where it comes in. Yeah.
It's also leaking from what I understand. Leaking?
What's leaking? Water or fluid leak or what?
Water? No?
You've got to bear this in mind. I don't know if it's refrigerator is leaking from the system itself that's freeing, or you might have water leaks coming from the AC unit. So,
Okay.
See.
So what's involved? You have to take the wall down to get it out?
Yeah, what is involved, that closet rack space there, we're going to, the wall that's there, the existing wall, we're going to take that out. That way we can move the existing unit inside. But we have to cut it up in pieces, literally, to get it out through that door. And we get a new one in and install a new one back there. But we're going to make that wall stay, we're not going to build the wall back, but you're going to have that closet space right there, the doors and stuff. That way they won't see the unit anyway. But if we have one pass-through here, easy access to the air and that's it.
Is it going to be the same size?
It's not really the same size, because we want to get, you want to get like, what you call it, a calculation. So we have got to figure that out, because you guys say you want that 20 ton. This unit have about 200 circuits, 3 circuits. So it's going to be the same air and the size of a 20 ton, just like that. But we're going to find out, see if you guys want to go with the 20 ton, or you guys want to go ahead with the 60 tons.
Will it make as much noise?
No, it's more efficient unit.
20 ton will be enough?
That's what I said, we're going to do a heat load calculation to go from there. Because so far you guys want to do, I don't know why they didn't want to have like, just stay with that 20 ton and don't incorporate the other 2 condensing unit that ties inside that unit, that same air
Because you mentioned there's 3 units.
There are 3 units there.
2 are not working.
Yeah.
Only one is working, and that's 20 times.
That's a 20, Yeah, and you guys, that's been done for years now, the other 2 units outside. I probably heard that's haven't been working for years now, you know what?
So just another measure of clarity to answer your question in relation to that closet. So on the back of the closet here is going to have, the wall is going to be put back, but that's going to be a false wall, so to speak. So whenever, if we should ever need to take that air hanger out, it's just a matter of taking a couple of screws out, that wall comes out, and then it's easier access to gain to the air hanger. In relation to the condenser, for the system that's currently run, I think that condenser is since 2005 on the one circuit on the system that's currently working. Okay, so I over here.
Quick question. Do you honestly believe today's air handlers can move as much air as the old ones?
Yes, we can adjust again, you have a 60-ton air handler inside there, okay? So you have a VFD. When I said VFD, it's variable frequency drive. So on that 120-ton air handler, you're not going to get a CFM that's a 60-ton air handler is pushing. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're going to get the same CFM from 20-ton in comparison from a 20 to a 60-ton. But you have a variable frequency drive that can get you the airflow up to 30 or 40 tons based on that variable frequency drive motor that's on that 20-ton air handler.
I understand that now. Today's gas is nowhere near as good as gas that was used in the past. So therefore, the machine has to run at a different rate just to keep up with what this one is.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry?
The gas that's used today in the units does not cool anything near as good as the old gases that are 34, 32. The new one has a different property. It's supposed to be more ozone friendly, but it doesn't have the cooling properties of an old gas.
I'm not sure. That's completely left up to one's opinion.
Now, it's been improved. That's more improved.
Yeah, but that's a point that we can sit here until next week, this time and debate over, and you would have to take that up with the engineer. If they came out, if DuPont or any of these manufacturers with the DOE came up with a refrigerant that says this refrigerant matches what the old refrigerant does, then that's enough for us to debate whether or not, because our options on the refrigerant is zero. A can of that refrigerant, which this system currently uses, our cost, without charging a penny, is about $1,500 for a 30-gallon pump. It's actually more expensive than gold. Yeah.
What about the new type of replacement for it? Or is that what you're quoting?
Hold on one second. Let me just.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So in relation to the old refrigerant or the new refrigerant, the engineers came up with that, and they say, hey, listen, out of all the selected refrigerants, the R410A is going to be the refrigerant that's now going to replace the R22. As a matter of fact, in 2 years, they're going to be, right now, they're in a conundrum in deciding which refrigerant they are going to be using the next 2 years, because these are all shifting changes from the Department of Energy in relation to what refrigerant is ozone friendly, what is safe for the technicians to operate in their vehicles, and what's even safe for us to sit inside here. God forbid there's a refrigerant leak in that system and it sucks inside the air. So yeah, there's so many, that's a rabbit hole that can take us until next week on that.
That is what my point was, because R12 or any of the other refrigerants are not as bad for you as the new refrigerant, but it doesn't have the cooling properties. And there's so many extras that they're constantly changing, and they haven't changed back in the old days compared to what they're doing today. They're revising it every 3 to 4 years, and you constantly have to upgrade your equipment, upgrade something. So now we're going to put a new unit in, and 3 years down the road, if anything happens, they tell you, okay, we have to put a new orifice in this thing because the new refrigerant doesn't like it. Where do we stand?
So let me give you, I'm gonna segue the answer, and I hope this answers your question. I think in 2030, all motor vehicles in America has to have the, I think it's 30 miles per gallon, the minimum requirement. And if I'm wrong, then please forgive me on that. We have a 1973 Oldsmobile, whatever it is, that uses how much ever miles to the gallon, and it strictly uses one type, or go to a certain mechanic to fix it in this way. It's not that you're not able to do that. You still can. But the new requirement from the federal government, or from wherever it is, requires that at this point, in order to go back to your requirement, at this point, in order for an inspector to come inside there and say, hey, listen, this is approved, we have to meet whatever that current standard is. And that current standard right now is a refrigerant R410A. Whether it changes in a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line, that's what we have to deal with, because that's the hand that we're dealt with right now. We can't preempt and say, okay, in 5 years you're going to change it to XYZ refrigerant.
So conceivably, we could be looking at having to do this again.
No. That's what I'm saying. In answer to the question, we can get refrigerant. We can get R22 refrigerant.
No, I get that. What I'm getting at is, basically, when what you're saying is, if the system is open and it's out, like you have a breach, so there's no coolant in the system, which happens because in ACs, what is the regulation then? You have to then convert to the new Freon?
No. You don't.
Okay, so you can still go back to the old
Correct.
Freon.
And
Okay.
as I was saying, you still can get refrigerant 22. That's
Yeah.
still available. But the cost that you're going to pay for.
Well, trust me, I've been down that road already. Cost me $1,000.
All of us have had at some point with their contractor that came inside their house, and you have a unit that's sitting, the old GE, Bermuda, we have a lot of old GE front return air handlers inside here. And that contractor comes and he said, hey, listen, the cost of that R22 refrigerant is up to $200 a pound. Are you going to put 5 pounds that cost you $1,000? Or are you going to look into replacing your air conditioning system to something that meets the standard of today? Go ahead.
Question, please.
Yes, go ahead.
We have a 60-ton AC handler right
Air
now.
handler, yes, correct.
Okay, we're talking about putting in a 20-ton AC.
Correct.
Will we continue to keep the 60-ton handler?
No, so let me explain to you what's happening here. So when we say we're replacing the air conditioning unit, you currently have a split system. Split system meaning your air handler is that what's making that noise inside the closet, and then you have the condensers which are sitting outside. I'm going to put it in reference to your home, so it makes it a little bit easier to think about. So in your home, currently you have one air conditioning unit. Think of this system as 3 air conditioning units in one. The air handler inside there has 3 of their closet units, and then your system that's on the roof, there's 3 of them sitting outside. So each one of those circuits currently allows you 20 tons of cooling. You got it?
Yes, I do, but I still have a question for you. You guys said we have 3 parts to this, correct?
3 condensers.
Okay.
Yes.
2 are not working,
Yes, that's correct.
only 1 is working. Okay, the 2 that are not working, what was the function of those 2 if now we only need 1?
Okay, so based on when we assess inside the closet, and I may be wrong on this, okay? This one system used to cool a bigger space. Maybe
The whole building.
Yes, the entire building. So as time progresses, you'll find that like outside here you have a condenser which I think cools the kitchen. And then at the back, they might have had another unit, and they added split systems as they go along,
Right.
because the role and function, now you would have that, the building as a whole would have at that point required 60 tons of cooling. But as you go and you say, hey, listen, let me take the kitchen from the system, let me take the gym from the system, let me take this section from the system, you don't require as much cooling. So currently, this 60-ton system is only cooling inside the space. So before, that unit would have been cooling the entire building, but now those two condensers which are not working are being replaced by different systems throughout the entire building.
Okay, thank you.
Currently, with the 20-ton unit that you have,
I'm sorry?
the 20-ton unit that you'd be putting in here, hypothetical question, okay? It's 80 degrees in here. How long is it gonna take to go down 8 degrees?
That depends on if it's a 100-degree summer day, if you have a lot
Well,
of people opening and closing that door.
Let's say the door's not being closed that much or open that much. It's 95 degrees outside, it's in the middle of the summer, and we got 80 degrees in here, okay?
It all depends. There's so many variables that factors in. I can sit here and tell you that in December it's going to take
Well,
10 minutes. for
how
it to cool down.
about doing worst condition and best condition?
That's where the load calculation comes in. So that if that's something that we'll speak to management about, if we get a load calculation, then that report will give you a full answer in that regard.
Are you questioning whether it's gonna be sufficient or not?
That's
Yes,
the question.
because of-
All right. There's so many different factors.
When my question is also, the capacity of here in this building, in this unit here, right here, is 750 people. Now, we haven't had that in a long time, but if we ever get back to doing the things that we've done, I've been in here when we've had 750 and we've had to turn people away.
Okay.
Okay, we actually had the Platters here performing years ago, because we used to have somebody who was in that band, and he brought them in for one performance.
Yeah, you said that here, that's nice to know that. Okay, when you have 750 people here inside the space, was it only on the 20 tons or what? Was it on that single unit before?
I can't speak as far as, we're going back prior to 2011, okay? So actually, this is probably back in 2004 or earlier than that.
Okay.
Okay, so I can't tell you what the conditions were outside on the unit as far as working. I'd be lying to you if I said that to you.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
and I'm not gonna do that.
All right.
But what I'm saying is, we have a capacity here to be able to do that. And what I wanna make sure is that whatever we put in here, that we're not reducing the capacity, because we have a 972 unit place here at this point. Right now, we can probably accommodate half the people if two people come with husband and wife here, if we have some kind of event.
Okay. so
Okay,
that's what
and
you-
the whole idea here is to not reduce the size or the capacity that we have. So that's why I'm bringing this up.
You're looking at.
That's a good point. That's the best way to have then is to the heat load calculation and go from there. That
Okay.
way, you have more than one, like 2 circuits, and when it's needed, as soon as your capacity increase, it automatically just comes in and cool down the space
Yeah.
right here.
I mean, that's something for the board to make their decision,
Yeah.
but we need to have that knowledge to know what it is.
So again, we'll speak to, and I see your hand, we'll speak to management in relation to that load calculation.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Another thing, you replacing the wiring in there, or are you going to look to see whether they're running aluminum wiring or any other kind? Are you going to be putting new services in to deal with the new units?
I'm going to assume that you're asking in relation to the copper, is that correct? Or is that the electrical? Which one?
The electrical, because the old buildings have aluminum wiring. So-
No, it's copper wire that's inside there.
So you verified that already?
Have you looked at that, if you need to pull new services in or not?
Yeah, well, if that's something, based on when we open the air handler, there's copper wire inside there. So if that's something, again, that we'll speak to management about that. And if that's an electrical scope of work, which we're not electricians, we're mechanical contractors. So if that's where the electrical wire is aluminum and that needs to be replaced, then an electrician has to take care of that.
So that's a separate contract to you, so that's an additional.
No, second contract to the association, not to us.
That's part of why you need an engineer to do a survey.
I'm sorry?
That is why you need an engineer to do a survey prior to you doing anything.
No, the engineer, even if an engineer comes inside there, is not, the load calculation is not going to do anything.
No,
in
that,
relation to
I'm
the
talking
engineer.
about the fact that he's gonna look and see whether that's aluminum wire or not, and he's gonna make a judgment, or he'll have an electrician come in and say that you need to replace the wire per code, or you don't.
I think we're mixing two things up. That's why I wanted to verify if the gentleman was speaking of the
What-
refrigerant line or the electrical line.
I'm
If-
talking about the electrical line, that's what I'm speaking about now.
Okay, so in that regards, again, you would have to speak to your association to get an electrical engineer. We're speaking specifically to
Okay, I
mechanical.
get what you're saying, but that's part of the reason why a survey has to be done in order for you to pull a permit. Because you need to let them know exactly what you're doing. In order to get the permit, you gotta spell out exactly everything that you're doing. If you're planning to pull new wire, you gotta let them know that. If you're planning to replace the unit, you gotta tell them what the old unit is and what the new unit is, and the scope of work that you're doing. That's all part of pulling a permit.
Yeah, we're fully aware of what's required.
No,
to
I'm
pull
not
the
questioning
permit.
that. I'm just saying that in the city of Tamarack, you have to have an engineer do a survey, and he's the one who's telling you what needs to be done at that point. That's my understanding. Am I wrong or not? Or can you just pull a
The
permit
electrical,
and change it?
Again, that's completely out of our scope of work. We are mechanical contractors here that's
Okay.
doing specific to the mechanical scope of work.
Okay,
That's it.
who's pulling the permit for this job?
We're pulling the permit for the mechanical scope of work.
Okay, who's pulling the electrical part of it?
What
'Cause-
electrical, there's no required electrical.
Okay, so your unit doesn't require electricity? Is that what you're telling me?
It's being connected to the existing electrical.
Okay, so somebody still has to make sure that the existing wire is still good for you to use, correct?
The wire, that's what I'm saying. We open the panel and it's copper wires that are inside there. If you
Yeah.
want us to come.
What
and
what
raise
I'm
this-
what I'm getting
but
at
I'm not
is,
sure what you're getting at. Go
okay,
ahead.
sometimes if a wire has a certain amount of load on it for so many years, it's then considered no longer usable, which requires then you have to pull a new line at that point, because the wire is either corroded or they have to basically look at that. The way they do that is they take a thermal image and they can actually see how bad the wire is or how good the wire is. Now I'm speaking from knowledge, not from guessing.
I see what you're saying, where you're coming from, but to be true to the fact, you need the electrical engineer to come in and check your control panels and stuff like that. And what you're saying, the imagery, I just show you if you have,
Correct.
overheated wires and stuff
And
like
that has to get done prior to the city's not gonna let you just hook up to old wire. They wanna
No,
make
we
sure.
know that, we know that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but what I'm getting at, that's part of the survey that the engineer has to do in order for you to
That is
pull
true,
the
but
permit.
Honestly, you guys should really, if you're gonna do all that work, this is additional work for electrical engineer to come in and
It's-
check all your wires and stuff like that.
I get that and I understand that. What I'm saying to you is you have to satisfy to the city that you've checked the electrical wiring, that you've made
Yes,
sure
yeah.
all this is involved in the permit that you're pulling.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's also gonna know that the right
Yeah.
wire size.
Because you can't just say, I'm gonna do the mechanical
unit.
work, get you a permit for that, and then they're not gonna give you a permit until they know for a fact that you've done the wiring correctly or that you checked it at that point.
Because
'Cause-
what we would do anyway, I mean, the electrical engineer, what do we do? They come in and they do an assessment,
correct.
and go from there. Then they will bring it to the city, and if it's feasible and it can, if that's the right wire side.
Now you got it. Now you understand what I'm getting at. Okay? You shouldn't have an issue because there's more electricity being pulled now than what you had before. You're going to a smaller unit. So the wire should be still reusable, providing that the wire is in good condition and that it hasn't had extreme load on it, which I would tell you, based off of the use that we have here, that more than likely that wire is good. So really, you're not looking at having to re-pull new wire.
Because the wire side is supposed to be under.
Well, because of the use, because of the
right
use
side.
that we've had here and the fact that we're not using all 3 units anymore. So you're not gonna have the extreme load, which would cause a situation.
What you are saying, that's just a pre-check.
Correct, but it still has to be done.
Yeah, I know you're saying, yeah, to make sure it's good for that unit.
Correct,
All right.
for what you're putting in. My last question to you guys, what classification of what your license is? What class is it?
We're mechanical contractors.
The AC guys, you have an AC license, correct?
Correct, yes.
What classification is it,
We have a
please?
Class B mechanical license.
Which means that you can work up to what, please?
25,000 tons.
25 tons?
And
Okay.
we have 2 licenses, as a matter of fact. We have a license that's wide open, that we can do up to 250,000.
So you're saying you have a Class A license?
Correct.
We're gonna go reach you guys now. We're gonna reach you guys now.
Okay.